What is happening, Honey Badger Nation? What's up? What's good? Man, welcome to another episode 125 of Expert Mentors Live. I've got my good friend and quite frequent guest to Expert Mentors Live, Mr. Joel Hollo from the cold side of the 21-6.
That's for sure, man. What is going on? I get pumped up when I see that intro, man. I love it. So, you get me all jacked up, but I'm going to still plead for I need the Expert Mentors Live number 216. That's got to be me. I'm all over that.
Got to have that one. You got to have that. I know a guy that might be able to help you, or you might know a lady there in your office that can maybe help you with that.
Yeah, I think so. I'll pull some strings.
Make it happen. Well, what's up, everybody, man? Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Expert Mentors Live. The whole goal and intent of these episodes are to tap into the horsepower of our amazing Honey Badger community. There's so many talented people inside, and so many talented people that just want to give back. Joel Hollo is no different, and that's why he has a ton of value to add, and why we ask him to spare his time and knowledge and value for all of our advantage. So hopefully you guys are tuning in, taking advantage of all of these great mentors that we have the ability to tap into. And today's topic is going to be around the evolution of our team member agreements. Joel, what sparked this was a post in the Honey Badger Nation Facebook group a little while back, asking about copies of that. And, good, bad, ugly, and different. Everybody has one or know they should have one. But really, what's the gist of it? What's the whole purpose? What's the whole goal? And it has been an evolution. And, it just made me think of you guys going from, just like you shared before we went live, 7 pages to 1 page. And, all the nonsense and things that are in there to what is critical, that really answers just a handful of questions. And so that's really what I'm excited to unpack for everybody and really get your perspective, because you guys are the ones, right? I think even our last, before we, transitioned over to EXP, the brokerage partner buyer agent agreements, geez, might have been 7-8 pages, maybe. So, how simplified they can be to, really, to deliver the outcome of what the intent of those agreements are for. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll tell you, when you gave me the topic and I looked back, and so I had to go way back in the archives, pull up an old independent contractor agreement and print it out. And I'm standing at the printer, it's going, chung, chung, chung. I'm like, the hell is this? And so I forgot what it was all about, but it is such a relevant topic because, a handful of my coaching clients, we're going through this right now.
Yeah.
And so it is the way that EXP kind of fueled us to take it down a notch on that independent contractor agreement has actually worked in our benefit. So I love it.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about that. What have been some of the advantages that you guys were kind of pushed to simplify it, right? Why, what was the feedback? What was the benefit to you guys as an organization to simplify it?
Well, honestly, I don't know if aggressive is the right word, but it's less aggressive to a potential recruit. They're staring down the barrel of our competition who's got the same 7, 8, 9 page independent contractor agreement, and when they come meet with us, it's simple. It's a huge differentiation. It eases their mind, and truly everything that you cover or we covered in the 7-page old agreement you could cover very easily, not only in one page, which is what really matters, but you could cover everything in exercises you do throughout your entire relationship of that agent. You have your core value exercises. So why are they sitting here reviewing all of our core values? Yes, we operate it around our core values. They know, they're out on the big poster outside, but we covered them along with their definitions in our agreement. We covered what our mission, what our vision is. And as long as they know it and we keep it in front of them, that stuff can still be solved. And so, yeah, man, from a recruiting standpoint, they literally look like, okay, cool, this is it. Yeah, that's it. And it ties in perfectly with, honestly, the whole entire, the CHSA, the CHBA, all that stuff, the differentiating factor, the systems, right? How efficient we make it for our consumers, our clients, is how efficient that we make it for our agents too. And I'm telling you, they absolutely love it. They don't have to feel like they have to have an attorney go review it. And that's after they sign the corporate agreement with EXP. So, they're already probably a little overwhelmed, that we hit them with this and they love it.
No, it's fantastic. And I want to get into, our earlier thought process when we had these long, multi-page agreements for, what our thinking was to create that. But before we get into that, what that older thinking was to the evolution to where it is today, I want to really, hammer home this concept of agreements versus expectations. And so, it's really comes down to not what you preach, but what you tolerate. Yeah. And understanding that, expectations lead to our demise, our poor management of our energy and time, because once we have a clear agreement of success in place with another human being, then that doesn't have to be managed anymore, right? What gets managed then is the agreement. And now we get to focus on leading our people, pouring into them. And then the only thing that, like I said, that gets managed is that agreement. If we leave things up to expectation, we're going to be disappointed 100% of the time. So just know that you have to have an agreement in place. Yeah. That way you don't set yourself up for disappointment, but it doesn't have to be, coming from a place of fear. So when we look at, from an agreement, when we wake up, and let's go to the thought of empathy. So think about it, Joel, is that your agreement with your team members and even your staff, if they know where the agreement starts, where it stops, what's our definition of success, what is the desired outcome, then they don't lay awake in the morning or trying to fall asleep at night wondering like, man, like, what is Joel expecting of me today?
Yeah.
Right. Like they don't have to think about that. You remove that BS from their thinking so that they then feel empowered and they take empowered, action and get empowered results. And so not only this principle that we're sharing here, we're going to get into we're going to dive deep and unpack on our team member side, but I just want you to understand this principle, the concept of agreements versus expectations, not only works in our business, it works with our significant others, it works with our kiddos, it works in any dynamic that you have a relationship with another human being. Yeah. So instead of trying to guess, we have that clear set agreement. Now, agreements take a little energy, right? They take a little courage to think through and put it out there and get specifics, but it is what is required for us to put in place to define the appropriate action. That way we don't have to manage anything other than the agreement. We don't have to manage a human being. We get to lead that person. So I wanted to give some context around why, this is so important and so powerful. And, let's then back up, Joel, and, share for you guys. We got this 7-page, 8-page monster. And usually they evolved and they grew over time because that person took from me. Oh, I got to put something in there, some language, so they can't take from me.
Yeah.
So kind of talk us through your the old agreement and your old thoughts that we had around it. And then we can talk about kind of what's changed that simplified it. And then I would love to run through a series of questions for you and for everybody else to make sure that we check the box on these questions that really make up like, I don't want to say, ironclad, but they make up a crystal clear agreement that somebody can understand what they're saying yes to, or I ain't willing to commit to that. I don't want to say yes to that. So I'm going to go find another adventure that I want to say yes to. Cool. Yeah. Right. And I think that's kind of what we're looking for. So share with us, the old agreement and the old thought process around why we had 7 pages.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like you exactly said, I mean, we're trying to cover all the bases, cover our ass with every single thing that any situation that could arise. But the funny thing is that I don't even know if I explained this properly. This is our 7-page one, by the way. I could keep opening this up, and I feel bad for my printer that I had to print all this. But man, I couldn't even explain that properly. It was like, hey, review this. We're good. I mean, most people, I don't know. I'm not an attorney, and a lot of this is like just legal mumbo jumbo in here that. It's like I keep telling you, it's aggressive. It's aggressive to the eyeballs. And yeah, it was there for, man, we went from everything from explaining the company, like I said earlier, the mission statement, the vision, our core philosophy, core values, to liquidated damages. Somebody in here brought up, protect me on team generated leads. That's all in here. We talked about their split, bonuses, monthly quotas. The funny one in here was our non-compete of our old of the old agreement. That's what I was laughing with you about before this. So get this, our non-compete clause, I didn't even know it said this. It said, for so long as the contractor shall remain engaged by the principal for a period of 56 years after termination of this agreement. 56 years. Who the hell came up with that? I'm serious. I didn't even know this was in here, but
who the hell would sign that?
Right. But people did. And we got it signed. And honestly, thank God that EXP came down and said, hey, time out, hang on, let's take this down a notch. Because truly your brokerages, I mean, EXP covers everything in their independent contractor agreement with the agent, and then our team agreement just kind of buttons everything up. Right. So you can lose all of that stuff, which is why we were able to take it down. We were nervous when they said take it down. We were nervous. We're like, oh my gosh, how are we protected? But truly, that was from our broker mindset protected. Now we just need to protect the team.
100%. The one thing that we all need to realize is that non-competes don't hold up. They don't work.
Right.
So why put some scare tactics in there, especially here? Think about this. You're probably starting a new relationship. Do you want to start a new relationship? You want to get clear of what is success, and let's nail an agreement and some do's and don'ts to protect yourself. But do you really want to have an agreement that scares them, that immediately starts to erode trust, right? And that's really what we're looking for in our relationships is the continuation of building trust, right? Being authentic, being genuine times time, and continuing to build that. And so, I agree with Pierre, 28 pages long, policies and procedures, another 43, excessive. I would say, yeah, it probably is.
Yep.
So, obviously EXP has that. So you don't really have to have that anymore.
Right.
And you can really simplify down to what I would push all of you is to get onto an agreement of success as it is for the opportunity you're providing within the organization. Now, do you want to say, hey, all intellectual property that is ours is ours? And so you have to step back and think for a second, okay, what is true intellectual property? And have we gone through the process to formally protect it and done the right things? And most of the time, the answer is no, right? You haven't done that. You haven't gone through, the trademarking, the copyright protection. You haven't gone through those things to build, or even document, your standard operating procedures of how you guys execute your business model.
Right.
And so until you take those additional steps, and I would argue, you need to be over $1 million in revenue before you start worrying about that. Because here's the truth. People that you think are taking and stealing your leads, which when they leave and they take and they steal it's exactly what it is. But do you know statistically how many of those people excel and stay in the business after they leave your care? I mean, how many people from the Stasek Group over the years that have left are still in the business or exceeding at a high level in the business? Handful?
Yeah, maybe.
Handful, maybe. Yeah. I mean, I'm thinking back, even our best agents that left us and stayed in the marketplace and became a direct competitor never exceeded. And the ones that did leave, that tried to do their own thing, they're no longer in business. They're doing other things.
And, and honestly, we don't have to get down this rabbit hole, but that stuff doesn't even bug me because there's so much business to go around. That shit don't matter. Let them use the same home selling system still. That's where I don't know if ego is the right word or not, but that's where we just said, just freaking lose it, right? If it's a bad marriage, the divorce is going to happen.
Yeah.
But I feel that an agreement, it could either be negative when they're signing, like you said, all of the stuff, they're worried about what they're signing. Do they have to review this? Or it could be a positive thing. And the positive is it's one page. It's dumbed down to a 4th grade level, not to disrespect anybody, but it is for a reason. And then you throw in some positives. I'll go over this later on in the training, but the scholarship program, man. We throw in a scholarship program, which is just an added icing on the cake for everybody. So they feel good about signing this, and we're going to help them out.
Yeah, no, it's 100%, right? And that's where that agreement really comes in, and the understanding of do we have these boxes checked as we go through it? And so, me personally, I do want to have some language in there that, hey, it's not okay for you to just take this and go do your own thing.
Right.
That's not okay. It's okay for you to utilize what we have and build your skill set. And if your aspirations and goals are to go to do your own thing, hey, maybe there's a partnership opportunity. Maybe I can support you. Maybe I can help you. Maybe I can help launch you down that endeavor. And so coming from that abundance mindset instead of, from a scarcity, fold. And that's where I've seen over the years, Joel, a lot of team member agreements are built out of fear and scarcity.
Yeah.
Instead of abundance and just coming from a place of how can I add value into you? And this agreement, helps us both get to our definition of success. And so I just want you guys to change your thinking a little bit as you're looking at your agreements and, really what it is that, your overall objective and goal and what you're trying to accomplish. So that's kind of the key point. One thing, Joel, that I would love to kind of walk through or what I consider some critical questions to get clarity on in our agreements. And so the other thing before we jump in there, this I was thinking about this as you were speaking with people, and if they leave, that's not the question. Why did they leave? Okay, right. Well, it could have been poor leadership on your part. 100-0. You better look in the mirror.
Yep.
And more than likely, it's on you. You led them in the wrong way, or you set them up to false expectations coming in, right? You painted a picture because you tried to sell them instead of them seeing something that they wanted to be a part of. So I even take it a step further. What did you miss? What did you miss in the hiring process? And what you probably missed is you missed a core value misalignment.
Yep. They
weren't aligned to your values, and you've got to lead with values. In fact, I shared the post last night about a so giddy like a little kid on Christmas. I remember I used to get giddy about other things, right? Sporting events, movies, songs. Like I get giddy when a new book comes out. So if you guys haven't grabbed a copy of Beyond Entrepreneurship 2.0, get a hard copy, get the Audible, start listening to it immediately. And there's 2 new chapters in there from the 92, I think 92 or 93 is when the original one came out. But 2 new chapters, a brand new chapter. And it was Steve Jobs' recommendation to Jim Collins, that because Collins asked Jobs that question, hey, from that book, was there anything that was missing? And he said, yes. You start with people first. That's the first thing. That should be the very first chapter before leadership, before vision, should be people, should be who. And so, Collins, in all of his data and everything that he's so adamant about and talking about, is you've got to hire to your values. And he gives great examples in there, right in that first chapter. And so if there was an issue when somebody left, that's the tail end. That's the result. So you need to go back and look at what was the preventative. So Dan Heath has a great book out right now called Upstream. And what he's talking about in Upstream, it's systems thinking. And so many people focus on the problem instead of focusing on the preventative measures. And the great story in the beginning that he talks about is, these 2 gentlemen are out there fishing, and they're on the river and they're fishing, and all of a sudden they see this kid starting to float down, and he's screaming, and he's like, help me, he's drowning, right? He's floating down the river. So they run in to get him. Well, while they're getting them, there's more kids coming, and they're just rescuing them and taking them back to shore and going back in the water and back and forth. And one of the guys looks up and he sees his buddy walking up the riverbed. And he's like, hey, where are you going? We got to rescue these kids. He's like, I'm going upstream to find out why these kids are getting in the water in the first place. So that's just a great illustration, right? So if your people are leaving you, if they're stealing from you, if they're, trying to do all of these other things, you don't focus on that. You have to focus on what caused it. Okay. And it begins in your hiring process. It begins making sure you're bringing people that are in alignment to your values, that see the bigger picture, that want to be a part of it, and have a great vetting system, and then nail a really clear agreement of success to be a part of your organization that's going to help you advance your vision, your cause, what it is you're about. So that's what I really want to hammer home with you guys when we're talking about agreements versus expectations. The evolution of agreements from where our mindset was to where it is today. And yeah, would your agreement be a little bit larger if you guys were still independent? Sure.
Yeah, probably.
Would it be 7 or 8 pages, or would it be maybe 3 or 4?
Now it would still, it would be in between there. Put it that way.
There you go. All right. I like it. So Joel, let me walk you through a few of these questions, and I want you to just kind of think about it and say, okay, that's, we get that. This is kind of what ours says. So the very first, and so the focus here we're talking about is team member agreements, right? We've got buyer agents, we've got, listing agents, we've got an agent that wants to align, be a part of our bigger opportunity. And so we know that's the focus, but what is it that we're wanting to accomplish with this agreement?
Well, I could go a bunch of different ways with that, with this answer. So honestly, it's just to set the foundation for your entire relationship.
Okay.
For me, that's what it's about. I mean, when it went down to this one page, it's not that it's surface level by any means, because we basically said what are the priority items on this entire contract, and we're going to take it down to what the entire relationship looks like between us.
So what is the goal with your team member agreements that you guys are aiming for?
The goal is that they're completely clear with what their duties and what our duties are, entering the relationship.
Now, you guys have a little different, philosophy, but, no matter what, every organization has minimum standards.
Yeah.
And I love, the quote that's been ringing, in our ears for the last 4 or 5 years is that, the only standards you have are the ones you enforce. So,
right.
So what is it, with that, with any agreement, with that agreement specifically, describing the goal that you guys are aiming for, and understand that this is critical so that others on your team understand how they are aligning to the overall vision of the Stasek, the Stasek Group, the Stasek organization.
So one of the things that you actually implemented, and I'm not sure I'm going to answer your question, but I'll probably circle back to it, is a core value assessment. Okay, so once again, when we had to consolidate our 7-page agreement, there was things that were important to us that we still had to pull off. That's where these exercises come in. And to be honest with you, here's what takes over is you are going to lose people. Okay, if you believe that you're not, I don't know if this is wrong for me saying it, but get real. People will walk out, but how they leave, how you exit them is how they can always come back to you. So it's always got to be in that right way, in that positive way. And yes, you're always looking in the mirror on what you do. But man, you added a core value assessment. And so for any of our employees or even our agents, when we do our one-on-ones, it's, hey, here's a list of our core values with the definitions. Why don't you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, obviously 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, where you feel that you are according to these. And I'm going to do the same for you. It works out beautifully every time, because here's what happens. The independent contractor or the employee always ranks themselves lower than where you would rank them. All right. And then you talk about it. You have them sign it. We date it. We both sign it. And then we're able to at least go back and take a look at that, but it gives them a little more clarity. So once again, there are exercises that you could be doing and staying in front of them that eliminate a lot of what's on your old independent contractor agreement. So, awesome. And of course, I forgot your question as I circle around.
So like for you guys, let's go ahead and give them kind of, what language or what's really, what it is, the goal that you're aiming for with your team member agreements.
Yeah. So I'll just go through the bullet points real quick. I mean, like I said, it's to set that foundation on what's most important. So for us, it's obviously establishing, who the relationship is with, the liquidated damages we talk about, which is who company generated leads, right? Who's in possession of them? Whose property is it? We talk about compensation. That's a big thing, okay? And there's 2 parts for our team: compensation of where you're at, commission split wise, and when a company generated lead comes in and you close it, where that split is at. Also, in that compensation package, we talk about our admin fee and who pays for the independent contractors, such as our stager, our photographer, and our sign company. We talk about the divorce, severability, right? What does that look like? And then the return of the material, which is, whatever they're provided from NAEA, all the placemats, all the script books, anything that they are given, should be given back to us. But as far as severability goes, it just talks about that if we do split, right, all deals will be paid out the exact same way that they were going to be paid out before, based on that. However, when they exit, they are, and I know you're going to give me pushback on that.
No. I want to pause on that for just a second, because I think that's super, super important. I want, people to understand that a lot of times I've seen when agreements get made, they come from the perspective of the company. They don't jump on the other side of the fence and look at the agreement from the perspective and the viewpoint of the agent.
Yeah.
And that's one of the big concerns for agents is like, okay, if and when I leave, what does that look like? Right? Are you going to keep my money? Right? And the answer should be, hell no, I ain't going to keep your money. Right? It's but you need to put that in the agreement. It needs to be clear on, hey, this didn't work. Let us help you land at a spot that's going to be ideal for you and your goals and your vision. And here's what the separation is going to look like. Go ahead and get it out on the table.
Yeah.
And I love that. So I think that's important. So I'm glad you guys have that language in there.
Well, here, Al Stasek 101, he taught me from day one, you don't fuck with two things in an agent's life. Don't fuck with their money, and you don't fuck with their coffee. And I go, you're right. And so you're right. And so it's so super healthy to talk about that divorce right up front. Here's what it looks like, guys. And I dive into that. And I go line by line because here's our one page.
Mm-hmm.
So it's very easy. I highlight where they're at commission split wise, everything is reviewed. And then that's when the culture, the accountability, everything takes over for them to, be able to perform on this. And honestly, between you and me, what's not on here is what you have instilled in me once again is I ask them how they want to be held accountable because we're going through their clarity session right after this. And it's like, hey, that's great. Congratulations. So, how is it that I can hold you accountable to what you're committing to? And then they tell me.
So I think that would be the next question that I have for you is what is the ideal outcome, right? What does this look like? What's the ideal outcome for you? And here's the ideal outcome for us. So I think being able to answer that question, and I don't know if that is in that actual agreement, but that actually needs to be clear. Right. And so that can go into what are their goals? What is it that they're wanting to accomplish? And, from our perspective, it's that, one, we want you to, hit your financial targets. We want you to grow as a human being in all of the equities. We want you to tap into the support, the training, the leadership that we have available. We want you to play all out. We want you to, really come from you're coming to add value, and we're coming to add value as well, right? A relationship, that's a place you go to, to add value and to contribute. And so that's the ideal outcome, that we want to think about, that we want to get clear that so that they know and that we know. So that would be key. Now, what about getting to kind of what is success? And for some teams, the minimum requirement of success would be this. I know for you guys, do you have a minimum, or is it just whatever their definition is? And then from that point, do you break down specific results for that ideal outcome to be true?
Yeah, so that was my come to Jesus moment when we took the threshold off of the group. So we had in there, L on page 4 was target monthly quota, which was, so here, everybody, full disclosure, we're in Cleveland, okay? So if you're in a better market with a higher average sales price, I just have to sell a lot more houses in order to make the same amount of money. So their monthly quota in GCI was a minimum of $6,667, which is equivalent to basically about $100,000 every single year. That was our threshold of GCI coming into the company. It was equivalent to right around 24 deals a year, and we changed. Now, and it was cool. It was a tight knit, lean and mean. Our average when we moved over, our team of 10 or 9 was doing an average of 41 transactions each, which is phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Militant. Yeah. Here we go. We lifted that. And so we met them, the agents where they were at. We've talked about this 100 times on Expert Mentors Live, but it's our whole goal right now is two things: is the more people we have on our team, the more lives we have that opportunity to change. Because what I learned the hard way is everybody's goals and everybody lives differently. And so who am I to say no? Like, this is the square peg in the square hole, and if you're out, why? When I could change their life if they just sell 8 houses a year, and it's our job to facilitate the environment for their success. And so to make sure that they're on the right line, you talked about this a little bit. Like, yeah, we go through that clarity session right after the agreement is signed, so they know exactly where they're at. But I make sure that I'm in communication with them. Because the analogy of we're leaving Cleveland and we're headed to Dallas. If we're a degree or two off, you're either in Florida or you're in Las Vegas. So I make sure every single week we're dialed in to where they're supposed to go, their destination, and they're on the right track.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about what was the change that took the minimum standard off. What was the driving factor for that?
It probably led up to, I probably made no shy of 150 people cry. We just were at their throats, overly militant, and we had our 2 top agents walk. It was, and people don't believe it, it was $600,000 in gross commission right out the door, 2 of our top agents, and they went and started their own team. And so the cool thing about Al, and I would say this whether he's on the call or not, is he called me immediately. And he's like, how can this never happen again? Like, let's look in the mirror. What could we have done differently? And it was a different mindset for me. And I'm thinking, okay, you're right. And so we started coming up with all these different formulas and ways and, our own profit sharing and all this other stuff. So obviously that's what led us to EXP eventually. But honestly, dude, it was those agents walking away. And it was Al's like, we can't do this militant stuff anymore. And what you had talked to us about was, hey, is if the model's changed, open it up, open the doors, right, and talk to them and get into them personally at where they want to be. And where I also made the mistake was, one of our agents who's still on the team, she sat down with me, and when you're militant, you don't listen. Right, it's your way or the highway, and she's basically like, "Hey, I'm a stay-at-home mom, mother of 4. I basically, she wanted to sell 8 to 10 houses a year." Right? Joel didn't hear that. Joel's like, "Hell no, we're gonna blow it up, take over the world here." And so I turned on the lead flow, and she's getting all these leads, and I'm like, what? Why aren't you even logging in? Why aren't you calling this lead? This is still sitting here. Like, let's go. And she goes, she cried. She cried right in front of me. And I'm like, Darren Hardy says, unless there's bone showing, we don't cry. Like, we don't, what are you doing? No, there's no crying in baseball. Let's go. And she goes, you didn't listen to me. Like, I don't want to do this amount of transactions. That's not where I'm at in my life. And I'm like, I missed that whole thing.
Yeah.
So that's where we changed. It wasn't because of her. Yes, the model changed and everything. But, dude, there's so much gratification now in running a team. I would be lying if there wasn't headaches. But in running a team of 40-plus agents, it is unbelievable. And when it's culture-centric, unbelievable. And it's so rewarding for everybody. That's the beauty of the whole thing, right? It's not just one way; it's both ways, and we make that very clear to all of our agents. No matter what our core values are, it's not one way. It's not open and honest communication from the leadership down. It's open and honest communication back and forth. I want you to call my ass out if something that we promised you or we went over and we agreed to, if it's not being delivered.
No, I love that. And I think what I was really pulling for out of, and you shared it, that I want everybody to understand is, the model changed. So therefore the agreement had to change.
Yeah.
And so what supersedes the model is the goal. So for all of you guys listening in that are really trying to, fine tune or dial in your team member agreements, remember there's a right things, right order. There's a sequence to everything. And where you guys have to start with this sequence is, what is the goal? And so for Joel and Al, the goal changed. And so then therefore the model changed. And now the goal is the goal, still in pursuit of the bigger picture of the vision, but we can look and change the goal. Now, what does the model need to look like in order to hit the goal? And from there, what do our agreements of success need to look like in alignment to the new model? So you guys have to understand that. So your agreements need to be in direct proportion and alignment to the model that you guys are pursuing. So, if you're still running a tight niche team structured model that's, that, hey, is heavy, on you and heavy on the value add that you guys are providing, it could be, additional back end support. It could be additional marketing services. It could be leads and appointments, which I would, strongly advise you never to lead with from your value proposition, no matter what model you're running with, because you're just setting yourself up for failure by doing that. So it could be part of your value proposition, but you never want to lead with that. Hey, we got leads. Hey, come join our organization. Because what happens is that there's never enough and they're never good enough, and you cannot win that battle. So it could be part of your value proposition, but put it a little bit further down. So your model, what do our agreements look like in direct proportion to that model? And then you're looking for the right people that they're, whatever your value requirements are, that, whatever checkbox you go through. For us, it's hungry, humble, and the people smart, emotional intelligence levels. And then, they have the ability to do that job. And that's who you're looking for, that fit your agreement of success. The key thing, and I don't know, Joel, if you guys have that in there, and I don't think you do, but do you have, once you know kind of what their goals are, do you put some success metrics around it and then kind of help hold them to those success criteria?
Yeah, I mean that's part of the clarity meeting that we do right after this. But yeah, they end up signing another. It's not a contract. It's a more of a commitment thing for them. It's your guys's. We modified it a little bit. What do you call that? The where it talks about the amount of money they want to put in their pocket, which boils down to the amount of transactions.
The old personal action plan.
Yeah, geez, I couldn't even think about it. Yeah, the PAP is what I got in my system. So the personal action plan, it's just modified a little. Then they sign that, and that's what we talk about, the nuts and the bolts and the amount of money they want to put in their pocket.
So for all you guys listening in, what Joel just described is they have a personalized agreement for success joining their organization. So Joel has the one page, but now they kind of have an additional two. Hey, here's kind of the structures. This is in alignment to our current model that aligns to our vision. We hired you based upon, who you are from a character standpoint and, what you value, because you value what we value. You show them the ability to check the boxes that you have the criteria to be successful, to achieve the desired outcome that's okay for us within our model. And then now let's create an agreement of success. And me as a leader, what I'm hearing is that I'm holding them to what they are committing to what they want to accomplish financially in the success metrics of, hey, this is success. You want to make 100, you want to clear and take home 100,000. Here's what you have to do to make that possible. And then I want to, get around some measurements that are controllable within your control, Mr. or Mrs. team member. And, how are we going to look at that on a quarterly, obviously yearly, quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily basis? And, is that something that you're willing to commit to? And if so, let's sign off on it. Let's shake on it. And do I have your permission to hold you accountable to that?
Yep.
And I think,
would you like me to do that?
Would you like for me to do that?
Yeah.
And that's the right way to go about it. Now, if they're falling off, they're not hitting it. Joel, do you challenge them as far as has their goal changed?
Of course, and I make it actually very clear to them. I'm like, so you got the new agent coming on board, right? They don't know yet what to expect. I know we don't like expectations, but it's true that they have expectations of the real estate industry, not of the company. Mm-hmm. And so we have to throw assumptions on the board. And I explain to them, it's okay to be wrong. But what's not okay is if you're not modifying your numbers if you are wrong, because you just continue to set yourself up for success. So we're constantly massaging those numbers. I mean, my 25-10-4 board behind me is the same thing. I had just recently had a brand new agent come on board. And if you want to sell 4 houses a month, you got to create 25 opportunities. Well, her numbers that she had thrown out, basically she had to create 62.5 opportunities every single month. And I'm not saying that's impossible, but it's going to be very hard as a brand new agent. And so the first month went by and she's like, yeah, you know what? We need to change this number. So we need to move it back down to about 20. And then I'm going to perfect that. And then we're going to move on and build it from there. So yeah, you have to constantly modify it or you're going to get burnt out, pissed off, overwhelmed, and walk out of the real estate industry.
Yeah, and for everybody listening in, explain the 25-10-4. I know we did one of the very first Expert Mentors Live. I think Al might have covered it, maybe even episode 2 or 3 or something like that. So you guys can go back and find that. But just for everybody listening in, give them kind of what the 25-10-4 concept is. Yeah.
So we had the I guess luxury of tracking our business for however many years. You had us track it. And if you ever wonder why, this is why, because we actually have numbers behind it to prove that if you on a monthly basis, so one of the most common answers we get in our area is agents want to sell 4 houses.
Okay.
Let's sell 4 houses a month. I want to make $100,000 or more. That's great. Okay. So what do you have to do? That's a lagging measure. That's what the focus is. Darren Hardy again. What the focus, right? So a lot of agents that I still talk to today, they're like, oh, I'm just not running the appointments. I'm like, you're focused on the wrong thing, right? Let's focus on the leading measures. And so a leading measure, the best one that I have found is creating opportunities for yourself.
So define an opportunity.
Love it. Love it. So my definition of an opportunity, you have to check 4 boxes. Period.
Okay.
Or it's not classified as an opportunity. Box number 1, and these are going to sound really easy, but box number 1, you had a solid physical conversation with a lead. By the way, let me back up. These aren't leads. Okay. A lot of people think, oh, I need 25 leads. No, leads are another whole other category over here, but leads come in all different shapes, sizes, and forms and sources. Okay. So
a valid conversation, which would entail what?
A valid conversation, which would entail a legit buyer or seller looking to do business now or even in the future, because it's designed to set your pipeline up for success.
Okay.
They are not dealing with a real estate agent or haven't signed anything.
Okay.
And if you're anything like me, you don't take no for an answer when they do say yes. So, and then lastly, this is probably the most important. It's an exchange of data. Okay, so when you create an opportunity for yourself and you say, hey, here's my business card, buddy, give me a call whenever you get a chance. They ain't going to call you. Your goal is to gain their information because, like I said, leads come all shapes and sizes. If you're in a grocery store, you run into somebody and they're like, hey, yeah, we're talking about selling our house. Great. Here's my business card. If you don't get their information, there's zero follow-up involved whatsoever. And here's a little pro tip, by the way, COVID going on. Hey, John, by the way, what's your cell phone number? I'm going to text you over my virtual business card right now. I just got their information.
I love that. It's a way to ask for it. So you're able through there. Do you, is one of the criteria you have a valid, because I know for us, when we create a nurture, we've got to have a specific time that they want us to follow up or get back in touch with them.
Well, yeah, so that's why they're either going to buy or sell right now or in the future. So yeah, you're getting that date, but I train our agents on, I'm telling them when we're going to follow up with them.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right. So we check that box. It's a valid conversation. What else does it have to be to make the 25?
That's it, man. All four of those. Solid conversation, buyer, seller, looking now or in the future. They're not dealing or signed anything with the real estate agent, and you've exchanged data. Honestly, Perfect. It's that simple.
And so they become a 25er.
They become a 25er. So it's top of funnel, right? Like if I took this thing and I turn it clockwise one time, 25 is the top of funnel.
Dripping down. So how do we get them to drip down? How do they become a 10?
So that's after, and so people, right, the zero immediate gratification in real estate, which is what everybody hates. So how do you become a 10? If you constantly are living in the top of the funnel, organically it happens. So I always tell all of our agents, commit to this. Commit to that dull, the boring for 3 months. Give me 3 freaking months. 90 days to success. And if you just create your 25 opportunities, you will be meeting with 10 face-to-face people.
Is that where it is? So 10 is face-to-face?
Yeah, 40%, they say. And you have to get that ball rolling, right? If the first month you move all 25, I promise you probably will not meet with 10 people. But it's now because why? You have the right now, the 3 to 6 month, the 6 to 12 months, sometimes either farther out when you're creating opportunities. So it's you have to just be focused on trusting that process, that you will see that the snowball, right? My Ohio analogy, you pack that firm foundation of that snowball and then you start rolling it. That's what your opportunity in your pipeline does. It gets this big. And then organically, that's when the face-to-face happens. So as part of the agreement, do you guys say, hey, success is also going to be that you follow our methodology of the 25-10-4 process based upon whatever your goals are, and we'll adjust, if you only need to sell, if your goals are, hey, only 2 homes a month, we'll adjust it, accordingly. Yep.
But we ask that you embrace and follow our methodology. Is that part of the agreement of success that you guys have with your team members?
Yeah, it's part of the personal action plan. And what we did too, we took it the next step at the start of 2020 was we broke it down on a weekly basis, because I'm a firm believer is they have to know whether they're winning or losing on a daily and on a weekly basis. So, yeah, man. And here's what people have to understand. Like, it looks so elementary. Yeah, put a bunch of stupid sticky notes on a whiteboard or on a cork board, but it's a scoreboard. What is everybody else's scoreboard? How do you know whether you're winning or losing every single day, every single week? And I know that all we have to do is move 6 of those a week, so pretty much 1 a day. And so our agents are like super dialed in that, hey, I was either able to move one of these opportunity stickers across the finish line, or I wasn't, which means I got to double down tomorrow. And here's kind of what held me back to make sure that we're not going to have that problem in the future.
I would just throw out, for all of you guys, for everybody listening in, that, it needs to be kind of adaptive to your style, right? To your leadership style. As you heard Joel kind of mention, they were more, more hands-on, militant type style. But when you have a clear agreement of success, what have we've agreed on? What is the outcome? So, if their agreement was, hey, close 4 deals a month. And so, you can either help put the framework in that they're going to follow this process, and that's part of the agreement, or not. That really depends upon your style. Now, would you like for me to help you, give you a framework to get there? Could be another one. Like for me, I don't care how you get there. I just want you to get there. And, if you need my leadership coaching and training or guidance, or, reach into my toolbox to help you for whatever you need, you have access and availability to that. And any of my resources and connections, I will hook you up like a tow truck to help you get the desired outcome that we've agreed. So that's my style.
Yeah.
You guys have to adapt those agreements based upon like we were talking about. Hey, what's the goal? What's the model?
Yeah.
What are your agreements need to be in place for your people to be successful that align to the model that's going to help you achieve the overall outcome. So right things, right order, guys. That's really what I want you to understand. And I want to make sure that your agreements are in alignment to the goal and the model, and, your style, your philosophy, your vision, your culture, what it is that you're wanting to have. And, Maybe a lot of you guys are getting frustrated here, like, just give me the damn answer. No, we ain't going to give you the answer. We're going to give you the thinking and the questions and the framework for you to go through the process to get there. It's how we learn. It's how we are even able to even have this conversation with you guys today. It's because we worked with the great mentors of ours over the years that wouldn't give us the answer, but they would give us the right questions and the right thinking and the right framework and the right sequence, the right recipe to build out what it is that we want, not what somebody else wants.
Yep. I'll tell you that you're exactly right. This changed a lot of things for me because it could be used in so many different avenues in our business, whether it's recruiting. You could have a metric board in recruiting as well, because we do. There's our wealth charts right below it. So yeah, we utilize this for everything, but it gives clarity. And remember, I personally believe the company that the team leader you need to take ownership of helping them move some of those down, right? Which is why we do lead generation and stuff like that. But it's giving them clarity when you have these one-on-ones with them on how you're doing, what are you doing to move these? Oh, and by the way, here's all your avenues that we have, that we facilitate that environment, and there's dozens of them too.
I love it. No, fantastic, man. And you guys have evolved tremendously. And, I'm it's just awesome to see. And really, there were a lot of nuggets in here. So hopefully you guys that, maybe did not get to catch all of it, tuned in late, go back and watch this, right? It really is important for, you to understand, but no matter what, if you do not have an agreement in with your team member, the only thing that is left is an expectation. And I'm going to say it again, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it again. If you leave anything up to an expectation with another human being, you are going to be let down, not 99, but 100% of the time. It never fails. So take the time, be thoughtful. They're going to evolve, right? It's the evolution.
Yeah.
It's like Joel said, a couple degrees off, you always got to correct and improve based upon what you're learning. And, that really is in alignment to who you are and into your values. So brother, I really, really appreciate, you jumping in, adding value. Any last final thoughts that, as we put a bow on this episode of Expert Mentors that we want to kind of leave everybody with?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked, because I had this in my notes and I wanted to share it real quick. I know we're out of time almost, is the scholarship program. Add that into your agreements. It's a huge recruiting technique. And long story short, I can speak from Ohio. Our real estate classes, you're going to fall off your chair. I don't know what they are in Texas, but they're $1,700. You're in freaking Ohio. What you're not sitting here doing rocket science. So right. I know, I have a client in Michigan. His is like $350 or $400. That's what seemed to be the ongoing. Scholarship programs are two different ways. You could actually pay for somebody's to get their education. They will sign a 1-year agreement with you. And then, then you guys figure success out from there. In our world, being $1,700, we offer to pay them back if they close 3 transactions in their first 6 months, which is pretty easy to do, right? Then we will reimburse them their education fees back. So if you guys aren't utilizing a scholarship program, it's a great recruiting technique, but we put the check boxes right on the bottom. 1-year commitment, scholarship program, check, both parties initial it, and then we're off running.
I love it, man. It's fantastic. And if anybody has any questions or wants to dive in with you, what's the best way to reach out?
JoelHollo.work.
JoelHollo.work. There it is, brother. Man, I appreciate you. Thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of Expert Mentors Live. Make sure you give some love to Joel for bringing the value as always.
Appreciate you having me, my man.
Yes, sir. All right, guys. We'll see you. Guys, keep watching it. All right. Take care.